What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today we are taking a look at a gorgeous knife from Custom Knife Factory. This is the SNAFU 4.0 large. Now, I had done a couple different videos, I believe, on a couple of the mediums, full dress, and let me tell you, this one is off the charts. It is more of a basic configuration in that it's got a black carbon inlay, but still that kind of beautiful pivot collars on there. And just overall, just a really solid configuration for what a lot of people are kind of looking for. So, you know, on the channel, sometimes we take some of the cool full dress stuff, and other times we take the more, you know, my style, plain Jane, little jazz up on a couple of the features. And this is certainly a knife that I love in every aspect. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of coffee, tea, beer, wine, whatever you're kind of interested in, and let's enjoy this together on the channel. As a reminder, check out BladeZilla.ca, where a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel are available for sale in Canada. So just added some red SNAFU mediums on the site, and have another batch of SNAFU larges going up following this video. Some Killa Orcas, super sick knives, some cool Chavez, and lots of Shiros. Lots of the Q95s are just sick and off the charts. Lots of really good, unique pieces on the site. Some Dixons from McNeese, some CKFs, Shiros, Koenigs. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. Anyway, we're not here to talk about BladeZilla.ca. We're here to talk about this gorgeous CKF Custom Knife Factory SNAFU 4.0 in large. Okay, so where do we start on this? Well, let's start with some measurements so that there's some perspective to how big the large is compared to the medium. So let's take a look here. Overall length, we're coming in at just under 9 inches. Looks like 8 3/4 to 7/8, somewhere in there, probably 3/4 overall. Blade length, sharp, is 3.5, but to the center of the choil, you're kind of closer to, you know, 3 7/8. Handle length of 5 inches, and we're going to get a closed length on this, which I don't think anything sticks out now. So we should still be in that 5-inch conversation with it closed. As you can see, a little more, 5 1/8. And then if you want that in measurement, I guess there you go. Some people ask for it, but I can't really figure out how to measure the width without kind of, well, let's like go that way, maybe. It just looks ridiculous. So there you go, and so somewhere in the inch and 3/8, yeah, whatever. That's not really a great measurement for a knife. Weight-wise, why don't we throw this on the scale and see where we're coming in at. Remember, it's an integral. Integral meaning it's made from one big block of titanium, and there's very little weight reduction you can kind of do on an integral because you can't actually open it up and mill the inside. So just keep that in mind before we get the weight. It's a fairly beefy knife, coming in at, 6.5? 5, not even close. 5.4. I was going to say 6 too, but yeah, in that kind of conversation, within an ounce. So there you go, 5.4 ounces. This particular one. Not sure if they're doing other variants of this knife either. I haven't seen any other colorways other than the full dress that I've kind of been able to cross paths with. But you know, if they do other variants of it, maybe they end up doing a full tie without the carbon on it, and perhaps that's a little different weight-wise, but probably still in that 5-ounce conversation. So anyway, where to begin with this? We'll do some comparisons so we can see some sizes. Just gently move this down towards the bottom of the frame. Where do we want to start? Let's start with the Shiro Astrum. Bigger knife, obviously, but a lot of cues here that, you know, it's a very thin, the SNAFU design. It's very thin, and the Astrum is not a very thick knife, and as I've called it, a big neon. So for me, this should be a pretty big tell on kind of how thin the handle of these are. They're fantastic, honestly. Let's grab a Quantum. I don't even know which one I grabbed. This is an E-Knives Quantum. So a little thicker handle-wise. Lengthwise, we're right in the same ballpark. So keep that in mind. Really good size. do, where's my Stellar? Stellar's a little shorter, but handle-wise very similar to an F95. So a little smaller, full tie obviously, but really overall pretty comparable, just a little shorter. Great knife, great knife. And then the Integral, the big beefy beast from Shiro, which these are not in the same league, but in terms of the only other Integral that I actually have in my case beside me at this very moment, there you go. That's the Shirogorov Laksa from Scott Cook, the first collab they've ever done. And I've done a video on this. I think I blabbed my mouth for darn near an hour the last time I did a video on this knife, and an absolute beauty. But in terms of, you know, comparing Integral to Integral, there's a lot to discuss here, and just look at them. Like, my God, how cool are these? You know, they forego kind of the pivot collars in a way of getting the blade in there, versus here you kind of have bearings that are pushed in. Like, there's just a lot going on between the two. But one of the things I will comment on the Shirogorov, remember how at the start of this I said, oh, the internal milling is very difficult to do. You can't really do any internal milling on an Integral, right? Integral being, once again, it's a full block of titanium. Shiro somehow was able to serialize these on the inside of the actual frame here. And if you look at it from the side, oh, there's no way to do it. But from when they opened that up, so they must have done this at an angle and figured out an algorithm on how to add a number at an angle. So that's always cool. Anything on the inside of an Integral is always really cool with me. And then in terms of just a couple other, not basic, but comparable knives, we'll grab the Zahn. A lot more people seem to like the Zahn than a large Sebenza on the channel. So there's your S45 Chris Reeve Num Zahn. This is a full base model, nothing too special about it. I'd still like to track down a glass blasted MagnaCut drop point. That seems to be kind of my style, whereas this is more of the sand blast or bead blast or whatever they call it. A little rough, but really cool knife. But there's that size-wise, and we'll grab the baby, the little leaguer right here. That's a small Sebenza, which is minuscule by comparison, but nonetheless, great little knife. This is in a black micarta inlay. I've had this one for years. It's a great little knife. Okay, so there's a couple comparisons. Now, in terms of the knife itself, and do we want to do one more? Do we want to do a large F95? We've got a brown F95 right here, and listen to that thing fire out. Oh, it's so good. There's your F95 in the latest generation, with the bear shield on there, or bear frag, bear pattern, whatever they're calling it. Anything other than bear guiles. Really great knife, and I think I've got some of the turquoise ones en route. So that should be nice. Just a lighter blue compared to the more royal blue that they had done. Both gorgeous, but just more of like a Tiffany's kind of vibe. So where do we start on this one? Well, let's be honest. The black carbon on this, there's a lot to talk about. I always say it's perfectly imperfect in that at all the different angles, the inlay just pops out, and you notice it more when there's a little color to it. But being black this time around, it really nicely pops in the sunlight. If I had different angles of light, I've got one fixed source above the camera right now, you would be seeing it just kind of sparkle in the light. And you're kind of getting a little taste of it here. But they certainly love that. Okay. We can deploy it with a flipper, as we can see up here, which is a forward center of that front pivot flipper. So the blade tends to fire out. The detent is more on the medium side than hard for given the blade length, but it still hammers out. And the reason for that is because you also have the thumb stud. So if you make it too stiff, you're gonna struggle pushing it out with that thumb stud. But you can launch it either way. The thumb stud is functional as well, as it kind of leans up against the frame. I don't know if you can see that or not. It is cool. It's also milled. It's kind of got like a Mercedes-Benz patterning to it. Kind of a tri thing going on. The blades, they're standard kind of, what do they call it? CKF wash on the bottom of the drop point. And then it's kind of got some satin flats to it as well. A nice little feature. And then a nice cutout in the blade, likely for balance. And shall we do it? Is it balanced? There you go. Balanced right behind the pivot. So there you go. Likely has something to do with that. And then we have a bit of a compound grind on the tip here on the nose. That just kind of adds a nice little edge to it. Real nice. And the jimping, guys, look how aggressive the jimping is. That really reminds me of like American level. The knife, not American, like Kurt American. It's very aggressive. If you've ever felt an authentic Peter Rosenti in hand before, you'll notice they tend to be a little rough around the edges, like big, hard edges, sharp jimping, and this is no different, right? Really grips your finger quite nicely at all the right angles, in all the right places. It fits nicely. In hand, remember, I'm an extra large glove, and I've got more than a finger of room on this, so if you want to use this with a glove, you certainly can. It's not an issue. On the back side, we have another inlay as well, which I believe, does it go under the clip? It does. So there's a little spot under the clip as to not pull it up when you're going in and out of your pocket. That's a nice little design feature. We've got an external, obviously, mill bend in the lock bar, which makes sense because it's an integral. An externally attached clip, which I know you can kind of get some hop-up kits for these and some different hardwares. We have the lock bar insert here as well, replaceable. And I believe an over travel stop. Yes, it's hanging down there. So yes, if you want to hammer this thing across the lock, you're not going to bend it past where it should be. And this one, what do we got? Number 97. So Connor McDavid's knife right here. Hopefully he sees this and wants it. I joke. I don't think he cares at all, but you never know. And then we also have that metal lock bar insert / over travel stop. So I don't know what material CKF uses, but the whole point of that is obviously to prevent wear to either side, the blade or the frame. So it tends to be a softer material than the two. And very light lockup, like 25% on this one, which is good. Internally, not a whole lot going on as it is an integral, so there's nothing on the inside, but sometimes you get little Easter eggs kind of on the back of where the spine would be. And in this case, nada enchilada. We still have a spot for a lanyard hole here, or a spot for a lanyard, and these look great with a lanyard kind of dangling off, something with like a leather. I find on these, they just work a little better with a leather lanyard on there, or just a real nice CKF bead. I know they launched a bunch recently that look terrific, a lot of skull-related patternings and whatnot, and yeah, that looks sharp kind of there. And then even back on the handle, we've got some more cutouts here that kind of grips the inside of your palm when you are using it or carrying it. So that's quite nice and very aggressive, as is the jimping, right? So fitting. Obviously, being an integral, perfectly centered, and if they're not, there's usually a problem. You know, the rule of thumb is anyway with an integral, once you kind of have the perfect tension on everything, they should be literally dead center. So if they're not, something's wrong. Bearings could be worn on one side, etc. Missing a ball bearing, that kind of thing. It happens. You know, the question that I would probably be posing to myself if I was watching this video is, could I flip it open with a thumb down from the stud or reverse flick it? I have seen people do it, and the detent is light enough that you can absolutely do it, and there's a ridge there. So yes, you can, and you know, there's enough room to get your finger in the back to push it open the other direction as well. So just keep that in mind. If you know, you're kind of getting the trio of opening options, or I guess this would be the quad options with thumb, flipper, thumb down on the blade, and then reverse flick on that pathway. So lots of options on this to open it up, and to boot, you get a nice little Peter Rosenti logo milled into the frame. I love that little signature, and that's typically all the actual authentic Rosentis. All they do is just put a little signature on the integral frame. That's cool. That's a nice little touch. And then on the pivot collar here, we've got a little Zerk, I believe it's Zerk inlay, and they're all a little different. Hopefully you can kind of see this particular one's got some nice little lines in there. Looks great. Nicely executed. And then the flipper tab itself, I know I mentioned it's forward of center, but it's got a nice bowl in front of it that really reminds me of like an F95. so you find it quite easily, and it's no jimping required on the front of this to activate it. So really comfortable, but it's very forward facing, so it pops quite nicely. Nice sound. I'm going to pop this open a couple times, get a sound on it. That's good. Very smooth. Very, very smooth. Now the question is, you know, if you're looking at one of these, would you be looking at a medium or a large? You know, honestly, your choice. The large is quite big. Keep that in mind. I feel like there's less available of the large, less options, but the medium to me is a really big size. And I have a medium here, I think. So why don't I just do a quick side-by-side comparison. I think I have a red one. Let me just do a quick comparison to show you a medium versus a large. So let's move this guy down and let's show you a red inlay, red carbo inlay. That's a medium, SNAFU medium. So remember, the bottom of the camera tends to add a little bit of width to it, right? Because it is angled, so just keep that in mind. They are closer than you would think, but let's shoot this guy open. There's the medium, and man, that red is very nice. And remember earlier I was talking about how the more materials you have inside the carbon, it just adds a bunch of layering to it. So there's a medium. Maybe I'll move it down. There's a medium versus a large. Choice is kind of yours. Design-wise, they're identical. Same materials. They look great. And in hand, I'll show you that medium once again. You know, it fits nicely, but you just don't have that extra full finger on the handle. So, you know, people see medium and they automatically think it's miniature, but in this case, it's still quite a large knife. As you can see, we're coming in at 8 inches on the medium. And then what did I say on the large? It was under 9, 8 3/4. So not a whole lot of difference, but enough that I guess they decided to make 2 models. And Mr. Resenti is just laughing his way to the bank with those royalties from CKF, I guess. I'm obviously kidding, but you know, there's a tool for each size. If you're in, if you want to try large, if you want to try medium, it's great to have options on both. And both, like I said, on the web store and BladeZilla.ca, both sizes have been really, really popular. So it just seems like they're doing more on the medium sized for collaborations or more kind of full dress and hop ups, you know, DLCs, circuit ties, smoke ties, that kind of stuff. Whereas the large, so far, I've only seen the black that's kind of come through. So, you know, they could be staging their plant in Russia, and maybe they did the mediums first and the larges to follow. Not too sure, but I figured because I've already done a bunch of videos, or a couple of videos on the medium, that why not grab the large, do a short follow-up, and compare the two, because man, they're absolutely banging. Really great knives. What do you guys think? Are you medium? Are you team medium? Team large? Which way are you kind of leaning? I could lean either way. Definitely is a great knife. What else is there to really talk about on these ones? There's not a whole lot. So the clip's attached externally with a couple different, looks to be kind of black hardware, kind of matching all the pivots around, right? Nothing special. And sometimes knives like this, like the old saying, keep it simple, stupid, KISS, this is exactly the knife I would buy, right? Just the standard, nothing fancy, titanium, you know, like a light stone wash. Like it's like the practical variant versus zircotai and Damascus and all these different materials. And you know, these are, I think, I'd have to double check, but I thought this was around $700 US, that type of range, where the full dresses are like north of $2,000 table. So, you know, you can have 3 of these, or more than 3 of these, for the price of one of those. So if you like black, or if you want to try the red, or if you want to try a DLC variant, there's all kinds of options depending on what your style is, which is what it's all about. So anyway, that's the video for the day. I didn't want to go too crazy and into details on it. Just wanted to do a short video on the SNAFU Large 4.0 2025 knife from CKF. As you know, it's a great knife, and this is the first time the larges have come through, so hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, maybe we see a couple more configurations of some different variants, because it's a great size, and I think a lot of people are going to love it. It's just such a solid little, I should say a big knife, but it's truly more of an F95 size knife. It's not mega big, it's just right. And that's what she said. So anyway, guys, there you go. Feel free to check out, or if you're on YouTube right now, throw a like on the video. It always helps the channel. Subscribe every Monday and Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern, for new content, full-length content on the channel. And you know what? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Pretty easy to find, but more than anything, check out BladeZilla.ca, where a lot of the great stuff on this YouTube channel are featured in the store. So I'll try to time this with dropping a couple more of these in the store, but yeah, it should be lots of fun, and definitely grab one, man. They're great. Okay, I think I've blabbed long enough, so have yourself a fantastic week, and appreciate you stopping by, and until next time, we'll see you soon. Peace.